Mm. Welcome to the live show. Welcome to the live show, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back with another episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the live stream. It is your boy Genesis. Welcome. You know what time it is. All right. With that being said, the title for today's stream is Nightcap live stream with Genesis. Thank you for tuning in one more time. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so we are streaming on vertical and horizontal. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can, okay, if you can, please join the please please join the horizontal stream, okay? Because for some reason YouTube compensates better for horizontal stream. So God bless you guys. Thank you. You know, just thank you, man. With that being said, let's get right straight to business. You guys are the best. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. God bless you guys. All right, so let's get straight to business. Nightcap with me. All right. Nightcap stream with Genesis. All right. Today we are on X. We are on X today, guys. Straight up on X. All right, so this is N Wokeness, and Scott Janine calmly dismantles an entire CNN panel. Check this out, guys.
I don't want to be bringing back waterboarding. I don't want to be a country that tortures people, especially if we're the kind of country that's going to be using the military against our own citizens.
Well, wait,
this kind of thing
what does that mean?
concerns me.
What do you mean use against our own citizens?
I'm talking about
You said
sending.
blue states behave. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about
what do you mean?
sending the military into blue states to make them behave.
What
getting
is that?
Gavin Newsom under control, getting J.P. Pritzker under control.
What are you
making
talking
sure.
about? What do
I'm
you mean?
talking
Like
about
sitting
things
into
that
the
Donald
state
Trump has
capitol
actually
to
said.
commandeer the state government?
I mean, I hope not, but I'm definitely, he's definitely talked about that. I don't know why you're acting like you've never
using
heard
the
this
military
before.
to suppress in the Black Lives Matter era those
Yes.
protests in the street.
He was there
that's
himself.
actually
I just make sure I understand your position. That you believe Donald Trump is going to use the military to set up effectively like coups in state capitals of states that he didn't win?
I think you're taking it a step or two.
No, she
too
said
far.
make blue states behave, and she also said round up immigrants. That's not true. It's deport illegal immigrants.
Scott,
I think you just
Scott,
need to be a
I
little
don't know why
precise
you're
about these
acting.
attacks.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Let's-
Hold on. I mean, look, let's
Why is she this lady right here, bro? Why is she like this? Look at her face. Why are you like this? Yeah, get her, Scott.
No.
Get her.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. I mean, look, let's
What is wrong with you? Why are you making that face?
Of states that he didn't win.
I think you're taking it a step or two.
No, she
too
said
far.
make blue
No, it's not taking it a step or two. Okay, it's not taking it a step or two. Stop trying to say it's taking it to the next level. She started it. She started it. What are you saying?
states behave, and she also said round up immigrants. That's not true. It's deport illegal immigrants.
Scott,
I think you just need to be a
I
little
don't know why
precise
you're
about these
acting. No.
attacks.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. I mean,
Oh God, look at her face. What is she thinking? I don't know why people act this way. Trying to make a point when there's no point. What? Ah,
look, I think you're right. Let's be precise. Trump has wanted to use the military to do things domestically that actually the military is not allowed to do. I think that's the point that she's making.
Like what?
Like deport illegal immigrants. That is actually not a function of the military.
The military can absolutely be used to work with local officials to provide military resources, but working
Stop
with
blinking.
other parts of the federal government and local officials.
why is she blinking like 1,000 miles per hour, guys?
A function of the military.
The military can absolutely be used to work with local officials to provide military resources, but working with other parts of the federal government and local officials. We already send the National Guard to the border.
Not against the will of the local officials or the will of the state government.
Oh, yes.
We have a federalist government here.
The military is not supposed to take up arms against American citizens, period.
They're not. You keep saying that. This is about illegal immigration. You all keep saying American citizens.
Well,
it's
how
about
do
illegal
we know whether the people are illegal or not?
Well, when we know.
What is wrong with this dude right here? What is he saying? Why do they keep saying American citizen? It's illegals, guys. What is wrong with these people?
Not against the will of the local officials or the will of the state government.
It's called the Constitution, okay?
Oh,
We have a federalist government here.
The military is not supposed to take up arms against American citizens,
They're
period.
not. You keep saying that. This is about illegal immigration. You all keep saying American citizens.
Well,
it's about
how do we know whether the people are illegal or not?
Well, we
know after they're shot.
We have 1.6.
We know after they die.
We have 1.6 million people in this country
Scott,
who've already
you're on to
received
illegal immigration.
deportation
That's not
orders
the
from
point.
courts. They are here
No,
illegally.
it's always back to illegal immigration with people who support Donald Trump. It's always back to illegal immigration.
People
but
are pissed about
that's not the only thing that we're talking about here. We're talking about the American people. We're talking about taking up arms against them with a military that's supposed to be protecting.
I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed of this man right here. Come on, brother. What is wrong with you?
But that's not the only thing that we're talking about here. We're talking about the American people. We're talking about taking up arms against them with a military that's supposed to be protecting them.
This is not right. You cannot say Donald Trump is sending the military to
We
round
didn't
up.
say
That's what
he's
he
sending.
said.
That is what he
That's
is
what he
saying,
said.
Scott.
That's not what I'm saying.
Totally false.
He said that.
Totally false.
That's what he said.
Scott.
No, he didn't. He never said that. He never said. He's always said illegal immigrant. What is wrong with these people? This is why you lost the election. This is why Kamala lost the election, like 1,000%. She lost the election because of people like this.
We are in the fever swamps, Andy. I'm sorry.
What is your dispute here? I'm not even really
Because they're
understanding
saying that he's sending the military to shoot or round up American citizens. Not
We did
true.
not say shoot.
I think
people, Scott.
the issue,
You said
Scott,
take.
Yeah, that's what he said. Listen, guys, you can't make this up, bro.
Immigration with people who support Donald Trump. It's always back to illegal immigration.
People
but
are pissed
that's not the only thing that we're talking about here. We're talking about the American people. We're talking about taking up arms against them with a military that's supposed to be protecting them.
This is not right. You cannot say Donald Trump is sending the military to
We
round
didn't
up.
say
That's
he's
what he
sending.
said.
That is what he
That's
is
what he
saying,
said.
Scott.
That's not what I'm saying.
Totally false.
He said that.
Totally false.
That's what he said.
Scott.
I think there's strength
We are
in
in
the
the fever
numbers.
swamps, Andy. I'm sorry.
What is
Yeah,
your
no strength in
dispute
your
here? I'm not
numbers.
even really
Because they're
understanding
saying that he's sending the military to shoot or round up American citizens. Not
We did
true.
not say shoot.
I think
people, Scott.
the issue,
You said
Scott,
take. He just said take up arms.
I said
Scott, why are you acting like Donald
Actually,
Trump
let me
has
ask
no
Elliot
evidence?
here. I mean,
Look,
look,
I did say take up arms
Hold on,
because when you
Solomon.
send the army in, that's what they're there for.
Elliot.
Cap on cap. Every single time, that's what they do. That's what they do. Cap on cap. Check this out. Y'all need to check this out, man. Y'all need to check this out. This right here just takes me to the next level. Y'all need to check this out. Listen to this. Just listen to this right here.
I'm the first trans woman to win this award. But I can't accept this award without thanking those that
Okay, so this person won Model of the Year. And there you have it.
this award. This award. To win this award. I'm the first trans woman to win this award. But I can't accept this award without thanking those that came before me, and specifically the Black trans women that really fought for the
Of
space
course,
that
they
I'm in
play
today.
the race card. Of course, they play the race. Of course, they play the race card every single time. Play the race card. Always. All right, here we go.
Of the far right surging. It isn't just happening here. But let's bring
Joy
you back
Reid.
to the U.S. and to our local gangster, Donald Trump. He's not even president yet, and he's already spending his time sitting in his golden palace, Mar-a-Lago, muscling
Golden
other
Palace.
countries like he's Tony Soprano with a social media site.
Golden Palace, guys. He's already sitting in his golden palace. Joy Reid,
Local
guys.
gangster, Donald Trump. He's not even president yet, and he's already spending his time sitting in his golden palace, Mar-a-Lago, muscling other countries like he's Tony Soprano with a social media site. Doing things like reportedly debating whether or not to invade Mexico, threatening BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, with 100% tariffs if they don't commit to trading in dollars and not their own currencies, demanding Hamas release all hostages being held in Gaza before.
God, these people are so not well. What do you mean? He's demanding Hamas to release hostages? And that's bad? He's asking BRICS nation to trade in the dollar? Is that supposed to be bad? Man, y'all be wildin', man.
We are seeing a global trend of the far right surging. It isn't just happening here. But let's bring you back to the U.S. and to our local gangster, Donald Trump. He's not even president yet, and he's already spending his time sitting in his golden palace, Mar-a-Lago, muscling other countries like he's Tony Soprano with a social media site. Doing things like reportedly debating whether or not to invade Mexico, threatening BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, with 100% tariffs if they don't commit to trading in dollars and not their own currencies, demanding Hamas release all hostages being held in Gaza before his inauguration, or there will be, quote, all hell to pay in the Middle East. Even reportedly threatening Canada. According to Fox, when Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau went to Mar-a-Lago this weekend to try to talk Trump out of his 25% tariff threat, Trump apparently suggested that if Canada can't handle the tariffs that would violate the NAFTA upgrade Trump himself signed into law, the USMCA, they should just become the 51st state. Just become this 51st state instead and allow Trudeau to be reduced to governor of the state of Canada, which caused the prime minister and others to laugh nervously. And while some are writing that off as just a joke, just a few hours ago, Trump posted this obviously AI photo of him standing on a mountaintop next to the Canadian flag, looking off into the distance with the caption, "Oh, Canada." And for the record, he appears to be looking at the Matterhorn, which is on the border between Switzerland and Italy, not Canada. Oh, well, let's not forget, this is the same Donald
Oh my God, these people are just on another level. No humor. Zero humor.
Trump, who at one point seriously wanted to buy the nation of Greenland, even possibly trade it for Puerto Rico. I wonder what this guy has against Puerto Rico. I'll just keep noodling on it. I'm sure I'll figure it out.
No,
Bottom
you
line,
won't.
this is how Trump operates on the world stage. He acts like he's everybody's boss, like he's the king of the world.
He is the president of the United States. Well, the president-elect. Okay? The president-elect of the United States. So chill, Joy Reid. Just chill.
Which is bad news for basically everybody, unless your name is Vladimir Putin, the boss to Trump's underboss. The question now is, will any other leader stand up to him? And who? Who becomes the leader of the free world when Donald Trump ends Pax Americana as we know it? As Nicholas Grossman writes for The Bulwark, there is no undoing damage in history. It is up to those with power and influence to limit it now, and up to future generations to deal with it later. The post-Cold War international system has serious flaws, but at least there are clear enough rules that charges of hypocrisy mean something. Even rules more honored in the breach will be preferable to the lawlessness Trump's second term could invite.
These people, man. I'm just tired of this people. Listen to this one right here. It's like it never ends.
I would say is nobody has to provide this medication to adolescents. These are not doctors being forced to provide this medication. These are doctors who are wanting to treat their patients.
Look, I'm tired. I'm tired, people. Look, that's it. I'm just too tired.
Investing in public education. Ain't nobody in this city, no one in this position. I'll be doggone. I'll be doggone if I allow anybody in this room or anybody in this city make me flinch when it comes to investing in public education. Ain't nobody in this city, no one in this position has ever had more standing in public education than this mayor. I've taught in our schools, or send my children to these schools, and I'll be doggone if someone tries to reduce my power after the people of Chicago voted me to transform this city. Guess what? We are going to transform this city, whether you are with this formation or not. And if you're not with it, you might as well join the in crowd now, because people's lives are depending on us getting it right. I'll be doggone if I allow anybody.
Okay, so you've heard this guy. This is the same dude.
Mayors out here and governors.
Check this out.
Y'all talking about crashing out for y'all. So Brandon, you and all these Democratic mayors out here and governors, y'all talking about crashing out for these illegals, right? You all stood up there and said you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example out this right here first. Please come here first, because you know what? We're going to help.
Oh, God. Oh. These people never listen to the people that voted for them. It's like they never listen to the people that voted for them, guys. Godly. This was the same guy that was saying he wants to protect the people as the mayor. And his people are telling him, man, bro, take care of us. Stop taking care of the other guys.
These illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example out this right here first. Please come here first, because you know what? We're going to help you. We want to forensic.
Ma'am, I would ask that you
keep
your, hold on a second, stop her time.
No. Don't shut her up. Do not try to silence that woman. Let her speak. Let her speak, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor. Let her speak. Let that beautiful woman speak, okay?
And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example out this right here first. Please come here first, because you know what? We're going to help you. We want to forensic.
Ma'am, I would ask that you keep your, hold on a second, stop her time.
Our mayor is embarrassing us, y'all, around the world. And you all took the power back from him to say the city of Chicago is out of the business of funding illegals. We are out of the business of prioritizing non-American citizens on top of the American citizens who go out in this cold weather every day to make money to pay their taxes.
You so strong about protecting those aliens, but you won't do nothing for the U.S. citizens.
Damn. Listen to that woman. That's a pained woman. She said, you're so strong. You're so strong on defending these people, but you won't do anything for your own people. Oh, dear Lord.
Every day to make money to pay
How
their
did we
taxes.
get here?
You so strong about protecting those aliens, but you won't do nothing for the U.S. citizens.
Here you are with another gritty property tax hike, trying to push the have-nots to house your precious illegal immigrants. You told Trump you ain't gonna blink? Well, we ain't either. You ain't above the law, and where you gonna run to when Trump pulls that Trump card out on you? I will make it my duty to try to get my gun to perform an Operation Great Lord 2.0 in Chicago and lock all of you crooked Democrats and judges up. And it's just like that.
And it's just like that, bro. Just like that. It's just like that. It's over.
We are seeing
the same guy. It's like this one. Yeah, look. Take a look at the 47th. The 47th, he says, oh, Canada. He's saying he wants Canada to be the 51st state, and Trudeau should be the 51st governor. This man is on another level. This is about to be the next 4 years, guys. The next 4 years is going to be like this. We're going to be having a good time, okay? Memes, joke, good economy, safe borders, nice foreign policies, peace through strength. That's what we're going to be doing. Having a good time. That's all we're going to be doing. Man, nobody already just sends 1 billion to Africa. That's why this is happening here. Take a look at this.
We don't get fresh meat because there's no...
Living in tents and small RVs with no power as winter approaches and temperatures now dip into the 30s.
There's times we don't get fresh meat because there's no way to keep it cold. Because you got to choose between heating the house with a generator, especially the ones who have kids, and keeping the food cold.
Wintertime's coming. These folks cannot be forgot about. Just because you don't see this on TV, it don't just go away. This is not going to go away for a long time. We got to get those folks out of those tents and in those FEMA campers. How's it going to happen?
Living in tents.
Wow, this is still the aftermath of Hurricane Helen. And check this out. It says here, Biden-Harris just sent $1 billion plus to Africa for disaster relief while this is happening here. You can never trust these folks. What Mayo Adams got going on? I think we already saw Mayo Adams. And of course, this is the legend today consoling the fallen hero's family. I mean, this is what you should do. This is what a commander-in-chief does. I don't know what these other folks are doing. Guys, man. Look, I saw this and I was just like, what is going on here? Look at your president. Look at that. Okay, that got his song playing. I'll mute it. Listen to it. Look at this. Look at it. Oh, Lord. Oh, gosh. Oh. Oh, no. Come on, Joe. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, Joe. Oh. Dear Joe. They had to hold him. Oh, Joe. Hold him. Hold him. Oh, Joe. Dear Joe. Straight from Angola. If you're gonna fall down in Angola. Shake his hands, Joe. Come on, Joe. Shake his hands. Oh. This is the President of the United States. Look at that. Hold him. Yeah. Oh, Lord. Shake his hands, Joe. Shake him. You can never make this up, guys. You could never, ever make this up. This is what we're living in right now. This is the life we are living right now, guys. All right, let's see. Let's see this right here. It says, resident kicked out of town council in Edison, New Jersey for literally holding up the United States Constitution.
This will be served as a prop as last discussed in the
Every member of the council took a solemn oath to uphold the Constitution. I'm holding up a copy of the Constitution to remind you of that oath. I'm holding up this Constitution to emphasize.
This will be served as a prop, as last discussed in the last meeting, so that you can use it as a prop. The Constitution, then we will take this as a warning to continue out.
I'm sorry, I'm not putting down the U.S. Constitution. This is my time. You're interrupting me. You're breaching the decorum at this point. Let me continue.
All right, as you have continued to use the Constitution as a prop, as I have warned you, your time is forfeit.
I'm using the Constitution.
Sir, if you continue, I will have to ask the police to remove you. I'm sorry.
If you're going to continue interfering with the decorum of the meeting, then you should be removed. Yeah. I'm trying to continue to stay.
Chad, what is going on? They're throwing this man out because he has the United States Constitution. Oh my.
I'm using the Constitution.
Sir, if you continue, I will have to ask the police to remove you. I'm sorry.
If you're going to continue interfering with the decorum of the meeting, then you should be removed. Yeah. I'm trying to continue the statement that I have a lawful and constitutional right to make.
We have not passed the ordinance yet.
An oath to the U.S. Constitution.
Mr. Councilman, you are not recognized. He is in violation. Thank you. He is in violation. He can be removed. Thank you. So we are not passed.
Stop abusing the police.
Okay.
Allow Councilman Rusher to address it.
Shame on you.
Bro. What is happening? Oh my God. They threw this man out because he had the United States Constitution? This ain't finna work, guys. What is going on, man? What is going on? Oh. Ah. This is sad, guys. It's absolutely sad. Too sad. Yeah, this is another one right here. It's like this chat right here. I wanted to show you guys this. Look at this. Oh, no. Hell no. Me. Come here. What is this? What is that lady saying at the end? Don't touch her. Y'all don't know what she's going through. I know what she's going. Yes, you go. What you mean? What's she going through? Come here. Now put it back. Put it back. Put it back. Look, man, this generation, you can never overemphasize. Look, what are you doing? Leave her. Leave her alone. I mean, what is she doing? Man. No, what is
I abide by the jury decision.
The presidential promise to put the law before family.
I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that. and I will not pardon him.
Letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers.
Was asked directly, and he has said he wouldn't pardon his son if he gets convicted.
Let's wait and see what happens if he loses.
Yeah, but he said it.
He's going to get pardoned by his dad. There's no question about that.
The president has ruled out pardoning his son.
Major commitment from the president, accepting the outcome of the trial and also pledging not to pardon his son.
So the challenge for him is really to continue to live up to his values when it was really personal, and he did that today.
It seems like a pretty normal, straightforward answer, but it takes new weight when we see what Trump is saying about the outcome of his trial, what we're hearing from other Republicans who say they don't accept the jury's verdict here in New York.
The contrast is profound. To sit there and say, well, I'm not going to intervene in the legal process, and I wouldn't pardon my son. One side, Democrats and Joe Biden protecting the justice system. And on the other, Republicans and Trump protecting Trump.
Our current president of the United States has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son. I mean, again, it's all about the contrast.
President Biden saying, I will respect whatever this jury decides versus
right.
Donald Trump after he was convicted on 34 counts, saying the entire system is rigged against him.
Their latest attack has been that Joe Biden has politicized and weaponized the DOJ, right? That was the whole argument around Donald Trump's conviction. And this week, of course, Hunter Biden was found guilty, and Joe Biden has very clearly said he would not pardon his son, he would not commute his sentence. How stark is this difference? I mean, how can Republicans keep making this argument now that Joe Biden has really put it out there? Where's Hunter? And he stood there in a courtroom, flanked by his family, and he's accepted his sentence.
He is not pardoning his son, which he could do. These are federal charges. Right. He is not doing that. He is not.
Can you imagine? Imagine these guys, all of them saying, this is how a president should act. He said he would not pardon his son. And now he's just pardoned his son. These people are hypocrites, like straight up hypocrites.
Doing it because he is living what it means to have a rule of law in this country. Yeah. And then it isn't, I mean, if you want to know if he believes it, you could actually see what is happening with his own son.
The president, Anderson, has been really clear that he is going to accept the outcome of the trial no matter what happens.
So Joe Biden's gotten asked about, talking about law and order. He's gotten asked if he would pardon his son. He has said no. On the other side, you've got Donald Trump, who has said that he will pardon the January 6th insurrectionists. Yeah. They're not even his sons. They're just sons of bitches.
Washington said, I am not running again because he understood the self-restraint was absolutely essential to this country. So you don't have a king. He did not.
What? Did you hear that? Oh, man. All of these people need to get out of their job, because it's like, why would you say all of this stuff and still have mouth to say something?
Pardon his son. He did not order the Department of Justice to say, don't prosecute my son. So impressive.
Could have ordered the Justice Department to halt the prosecution of Hunter Biden, according to this court. Everyone understands he's a decent man.
I think Joe Biden has a chance here to stand up for the rule of law, to say the law is the law, no matter who it is, no matter if it's Trump or Biden. And remember, part of Trumpism's dangerousness is that it tears down institutions, important institutions of our democracy. So there's an opportunity here for Biden to say, the jury found him guilty. This is how it's supposed to work. Period, paragraph, end of story.
Have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
As I said last week, I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal. The president said he won't touch it. He said he's not going to pardon his son. And it seems that Merrick Garland let it go through. How can the Justice Department be weaponized against Trump when all of that is happening?
The Democrats stand for the rule of law. Remember, law and order. And we've been saying that Trump's not above the law. Hunter Biden's not above the law. No one is above the law. And it is amazing to see the stark contrast between how Democrats handled today and how Republicans handled this whole thing over the last couple of weeks.
For years, these conservatives have been crowing about a politicized Justice Department, Biden politicizing it, and so on. What happened today? The Justice Department convicted the president's own son, his only living son. You heard the president say he would accept the outcome of the case. I know no other word for that, but presidential.
He even went so far as to say he wouldn't pardon his son. That's how much respect he has for the system.
The president has said that he will not pardon his son. What did you think of that? I thought it was extraordinary. I mean, it was a moment of just moral clarity on the part of Joe Biden, and couldn't have been in starker contrast to the way Donald Trump has handled his own conviction.
He could still pardon him. He said he won't do that. All of that conduct, given that it's his son, is kind of, we should pause for a moment and think about how unbelievable that is. In a million years, if the shoe were on the other foot and Donald Trump was facing the prospect of his son being prosecuted by a Biden, me, if I had been held over, a Biden holdover or Obama holdover prosecutor, not in a million years would that have happened. So, some of the people on the right, the people who support Donald Trump, are trying to cast this as some clever ops program.
Yeah. Hunter Biden was found guilty by a jury of his peers, just like Donald Trump, because this is our justice system at work.
Oh, really?
The divide here is stunning, and it's a great reminder that one political party remains committed to the rule of law and the other doesn't.
Joe Biden has already proven he's willing to stand up for the rule of law in a way that we could all never imagine Donald Trump to do.
Pretty emphatic over the last few days that he does not plan to pardon or commute his son. What that really is him saying is, I don't plan to use the powers of the office, the powers of the presidency, to provide private relief for my family. In a sense, he's staking out a pretty bright line between being, as he says, a president and a dad. And that's not just an emotional expression. He's in effect saying, I don't think that I don't have a right, even if it's legal, and God knows it must be tempting, to use this power in a way that is not available to so many other Americans facing similar kinds of struggles. There's a kind of old school sort of flinty core to his conception of how you are to be in the system, how you are to be as a person, a moral person, and ultimately how to contend with questions of power. One of the things that anybody who spends time around Joe Biden comes to know is that he's had this long-running focus on how much he is bothered by abuses of power.
Will accept the verdict no matter what it is, and that he has ruled out pardoning his own son. Contrast that from what we hear from Donald Trump. And again, we have to underline, in no uncertain terms, President Biden saying, I will accept the outcome. I will accept what the jury decides here. That's the way our legal system works. And no, I will not pardon my own son if he is convicted.
And the contrast is so clear in terms of decency and principle and transactional guidance in terms of how you view the world.
It is still a good day for the United States that this conviction is a prime example of the way our judicial system is supposed to work. Even President Biden saying in a statement that he would respect the outcome of this case. Those words so completely contrast with what his opponent, now a convicted felon himself, continues to say about the U.S. courts.
The contrast to how Trump has behaved, how Trump has treated the rule of law. This was a good day for the system, good day for sort of America as an example of how the rule of law should work.
President Biden told David Muir that he would absolutely accept the verdict, whatever it was, and that he would not pardon his son, regardless. And today he said the same thing in a statement. Meanwhile, Donald Trump comes out and calls the justice system completely unfair. What do you think of that contrast?
There's the contrast of two different men.
Here is Joe Biden, who has lost a son who served honorably in the armed forces, who now has basically said, I will sacrifice my surviving son's future. I will allow him to serve a prison term if that's what's determined, because that is what the rule of law demands.
The president announces that he will not pardon his son. Do you think ordinary Americans give enough thought to how this system is a miracle, a gift to this?
Ladies and gentlemen, Of course, you've heard that one. Now, hear this one. You just heard him say he would not pardon his son.
What are you learning?
Look,
we are just getting a statement from President.
CNN has learned President Biden will pardon his son, Hunter Biden. CNN Chief National Affairs Correspondent Jeff Zeleny, I believe, is with us. Jeff, can you hear me?
And Jessica, yes.
Okay, what are you learning?
Look, we are just getting a statement from President Joe Biden. He's saying that today he signed a pardon for my son, Hunter, and he goes through the reasoning why. Of course, Hunter is facing a sentencing later this month, but this is...
You are a liar, bro. You lied. You've been lying since 1948. Okay? You are a liar. You said you were never going to pardon your son. You believed in the DOJ. You believed in the jury of his peers. Now you pardoned him. I respect you, though. Because you're supposed to pardon your son. I don't know why you said you weren't going to pardon your son. I mean, what father? What father wouldn't pardon their son? But you messed up by saying you would not pardon your son because you believe in the DOJ. Man, sit down.
Really a monumental moment for President Biden. He said several months ago in June, when he was still seeking a reelection, that he would not pardon Hunter Biden, but now we are learning he is. And let's just read through this statement quickly together. He said, "Today I signed a pardon for my son Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision-making, and I kept my word, even as I watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted." So this is a fairly long statement, about 4 or 5 paragraphs from President Biden, but really going through why he is making this decision. He also goes on to say this. He said, "No reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out because he is my son, and that is wrong." He goes on to say there's been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. So, of course, Jessica, let's take a step back. You obviously covered the Biden campaign along with me, and this is something that Hunter Biden has been dealing with. This was a tax case, a gun case. He went through his trial in Delaware. There was another case in Los Angeles. But this is really the culmination of President Biden really making the decision tonight to sign a pardon for his son Hunter, not just a commutation of a possible sentence, but a pardon, which certainly will be part of President Biden's legacy going forward.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And as I'm reading this along with you, Jeff, I think one part at the very end is particularly striking, which is where he says, I have followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth. They'll be fair-minded. And here's the truth. I believe in the justice system. But as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process, and it led to a miscarriage of justice. And once I made this decision this weekend, there was no sense in delaying it further. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision. It is interesting to also hear him saying, essentially, that the justice system was politicized, which is something we've heard from Republicans and Donald Trump as well.
We certainly have, and important to note that President Biden spent really the weekend with his son Hunter and the rest of the family in Nantucket, where they always do for Thanksgiving. And this is a striking, really, ending to this Thanksgiving holiday. And with this statement from the White House we're seeing tonight, it is a official document calling for a full and unconditional pardon for all crimes and punishments facing Robert Hunter Biden. So, but Jessica, the sentence that you read is so poignant. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision. We will see, of course, in the coming weeks and months and years if Americans do understand that, but there is no doubt that this is part of the legacy of President Biden's one term in office, certainly something he did not want. He hoped to run for re-election. He obviously stepped away from that months ago. but clearly there was pressure inside the family. We were told really in recent weeks that Dr. Jill Biden, First Lady Jill Biden, was very supportive of the president doing something like this. The president was not sure, but we clearly have seen now he has come to this decision to pardon his son Hunter.
Yeah. And Jeff, of course, we don't have to remind people how close-knit this family is, and that Hunter is his only surviving son, that they are, of course, very, very close. And we've heard many stories about the last several years, how they talk daily and many times a day. Stick with us, Jeff. I want to go to our senior justice correspondent, Evan Perez, who is back with us. Evan, what are you hearing from sources as we're getting this news tonight that President Biden has granted this pardon to his son, Hunter Biden?
Well, certainly, Jessica, this is something that a lot of us were anticipating. We were waiting for it, even despite the fact that the president.
I mean, what is going on? You just went like every single year saying you would not pardon your son. Now you pardon your son. And I get it, guy. I get it.
He has done, but Kash Patel is a
Kash Patel, bro. He's talking about Kash Patel. These guys. Look, a father pardoning his son, for a father to pardon his son, it is what it is. Okay, a father should pardon his son. However, like, why would you say you wouldn't pardon your son in the first place? Okay, what would you say? Are you gonna pardon your son? No. I'm gonna let the DOJ handle it. I'm gonna let the jury handle it, and then you pardon him.
Congressman, first, your reaction to Biden's pardon of Hunter.
Well, look, the one thing I certainly agree with is that this was an improperly politicized prosecution. Those two charges, as I know from 10 years as a prosecutor in the Department of Justice, are almost never, if ever, charged against a defendant in a standalone indictment. And the reason why they were charged is because Republicans in Congress improperly tried to intervene in an ongoing prosecution to scuttle a plea agreement that Hunter Biden and David Weiss had entered into. The plea agreement was unusual because of Donald Trump's threats of retribution and Hunter Biden's understandable concern that if
now they're blaming Donald Trump. Blame Trump.
Donald Trump won, that his Department of Justice would come after Hunter for other crimes that he wasn't charged with but was investigated for. So the president is exactly right that if his name were Hunter Smith and not Hunter Biden, he would not be charged with this, and that is not a proper outcome here. That's not a proper use of our rule.
These people are just a bunch of liars. Bunch of liars. Here we go. More lies. Here we go.
President-elect Donald Trump is slamming President Biden's decision to reverse course and pardon his son Hunter. Hunter was due to be sentenced in both of the federal cases against him in just a couple of weeks, but now that'll no longer happen. The pardon also means that Hunter can't be prosecuted for any other possible federal crimes that he may have committed during a 10-year period. Biden's decision comes as Trump works to fill some remaining key positions in his second administration with loyalists, including Kash Patel, who Trump says he plans on choosing to be his next FBI director. Let's take you now live to West Palm Beach, Florida, not far from Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, with CNN's Kristen Holmes. Kristen, take us behind what Trump is saying about this Hunter Biden pardon and his decision to tap Patel to lead the FBI.
Yeah, so let's start with the pardon. Unsurprisingly, Donald Trump is seizing on this. One of the things that he posted on Truth Social after we heard from the transition team overall that said that these were political witch hunts, that it was a miscarriage of justice, this is what Donald Trump posted. He said, "Does the pardon given by Joe to Hunter include the J6 hostages who have now been imprisoned for years? Such an abuse and miscarriage of justice." Obviously, January 6th prisoners are not there in jail because they are hostages, but because they have been prosecuted for their behavior and for their actions on January 6th. But one thing to keep in mind here, it is clear that
how do they still have mouth to say anything? What are you saying? You already messed up. What are you saying, guys? Like, there's nothing to say. There's nothing else to say. Just close your mouth and say nothing.
Donald Trump tends to use Joe Biden's pardoning of his son as part of a catalyst for what he intends to do when he's in office. And one thing to note, Donald Trump has not been shy about the fact that he plans to pardon these people who participated in January 6th. The big question, of course, is how he chooses to do it. Is this a blanket overall pardoning for anyone involved, or is this a kind of cherry picking of people who maybe participated or were nonviolent? We really don't have an idea. And Boris, I've talked to the transition team. I've talked to a number of sources who have been involved in these conversations. They don't seem to have a full.
One thing is for sure, Trump would have never said, Trump would have never said that he wouldn't pardon his son. Trump would have said, look, I'll pardon my son. Okay, I will. Oh, I'll look into it. Or when the time comes, we would know. But this guy said he wasn't going to pardon his son.
Yet, but one of the things Donald Trump promised over and over again to a large swath of people, to family members, to the people who are still in jail for their actions on January 6th, was that one of the first things he was going to do was pardon them. Obviously, here he is using this opportunity to say that essentially that's going to be an exchange of some sort because of the fact that Joe Biden pardoned Hunter. But to be clear, he was already saying he was going to do this.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, of course, faced questions today while aboard Air Force One about President Biden's pardon of his son. She was asked whether the president would have made the decision if Vice President Harris had won the election. Here's what she said.
I'm not gonna get into into the election. It is a no. I can answer that. It is a no. He didn't believe that they would let up, right? He didn't think that they would continue to go after his son. That's what he believed. And look, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals to the original part of your question. The president wrestled with this decision. He made this decision this weekend.
Oh, yeah, he wrestled.
And he decided to move forward with pardoning his son.
Let's discuss with Democratic strategist Julie Rodzinski, co-founder of Lift Our Voices, and Republican strategist Aaron Perini, who's with Axiom Strategies. Thank you both for being with us. Julie, first to you. Do you think this was an unwise decision by President Biden to pardon his son Hunter?
I'll go a step even further. I think it's unwise to have the president have any kind of pardon power in the Constitution. And there are things that we've done to change the Constitution. For years, I have thought that this was a horrible part of the Constitution. The president is not God's anointed representative on earth. He doesn't speak ex cathedra like the Pope. He doesn't get to just have this kind of doling out of mercy that kings in the olden days used to have. I didn't like it when Mark Rich got a pardon from Bill Clinton. I didn't like it when Richard Nixon got a pardon from Gerald Ford. I didn't like it that Alexander Hamilton put this in the Constitution, but here it is. And anybody who thinks that this is somehow breaking norms or shattering some sort of expectation for what the next president is going to do has been living in bizarro world. Donald Trump was always going to do what he was going to do. We know that because one of his family members, whom he pardoned, is on his way to being ambassador to France as we speak. And so, look, we can't have two standards where the media goes nuts and wall-to-wall coverage about Joe Biden pardoning Hunter and then saying, oh, but you
The media is not going nuts, okay? The media went nuts when he said he wasn't going to pardon his son. Y'all were saying this is the best, the most moral president we've ever had. This is presidential. This is what the rule of law should be. Even his son, he said he'd never pardon his son. This is the president right here. Not that guy called Trump. Not that guy called Trump. That's what y'all were saying. Now it's like the media shouldn't go gaga because, he pardoned his son. Yeah.
know what? All those pardons that Donald Trump did in the first term, all the pardons that he said he's going to do.
This is why they lost the election. They keep talking about Trump. They keep talking about Trump every single time. Trump didn't pardon his son. Biden did. So talk about Biden.
People who literally stormed our Capitol and caused an insurrection that he promised to do as soon as he becomes president again. That's just Trump being Trump, and let's not worry about that. This is the kind of double standard that has gotten us into this mess. And I say that again as somebody who hates and loathes and despises
the part in the Constitution that allows any president to pardon anybody for any crime. A jury of your peers convicted you, and that's who should be given the last word, not anybody with their noblesse oblige ability to just wave a magic wand and somehow get rid of, any crimes that you might have committed.
Aaron, what do you think?
I would push back on the notion that this is somehow a double standard for Donald Trump here. Let's be clear, there's always plenty of breathless outrage and coverage of anything Donald Trump does. The problem here is Joe Biden lied to the American people. The problem is, for years and for months, the White House, at the official podium of the White House press secretary, stood there and lied to the American people because of what the president told her to say, which was a lie to the American people. We always knew this was going to be the outcome. He was always going to pardon Hunter. That should have been the expectation. But the way that he led the American people on, there is now going to not only be a complete distrust in the word that anything Joe Biden has to say for the remainder of his tenure and well beyond this, because this does affect his credibility. And two, I think when you go back and look at this, there is no moral high ground in politics. People are going to say Republicans do this, Democrats do this. And I have heard people call Republicans morally bankrupt on this network time and again. We just saw Joe Biden, the president of the United States, lie to the American people for his own family and benefit.
Yeah, that's right.
That is moral bankruptcy.
I do wonder, Julie, if you think the pick of Kash Patel gives Biden some...
What does the pick of Kash Patel has to do with Biden pardoning his son? These people know how to spin. DJ. Spin the DJ. Spin.
Cover for having made this decision, but also if Biden having made this decision may increase the chances that Patel is confirmed as FBI director.
Look, Patel's going to be confirmed or not confirmed because Republican senators are either going to bend the knee to Donald Trump or not. They know he's not qualified. They know that even Bill Barr, who was by no means the paragon of Democratic virtue, said that he didn't want Kash Patel anywhere near him. So if Kash Patel gets confirmed, it's not going to be because Joe Biden pardoned Hunter. It's going to be because Republican senators are afraid to say no to Donald Trump, as they have consistently been afraid to say no to him. But look, I mean, if you're talking about lying or you're talking about Joe Biden's word, Joe Biden's out of here in just a month or two, right? We're not going to hear from Joe Biden again. He's going to be a former president, and that's going to be the end of that. But I want to be clear about something. Donald Trump broke something in this country.
There we go.
When he got elected the first time, and then he shattered it into a million pieces when he got reelected. And we will never get that back again. When you have a president of the United States, an incoming president, effectively saying that he's going to weaponize the Justice Department to go after his enemies. When he called the Biden family, the Biden quote-unquote crime family, and made it very clear that he was going to do everything in his power to appoint people who were going to go after them, regardless of whether they committed crimes or not. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand which way the wind was going to blow. And as I said again, presidents should not have the ability to pardon, but it's very understandable when you have somebody like Donald Trump come in, why somebody might say, you know what, I don't want my son prosecuted for crimes that I haven't even considered that he may have done. And that, by the way, doesn't just apply to Hunter Biden. He's lucky his dad's the president. It applies to all of us who criticize Donald Trump. He is abnormal. He has broken every norm and he has broken every precedent that we've had in almost 250 years of this country. And so for anybody to sit there and say, well, Joe Biden lied, Joe Biden lied, are you kidding me? Donald Trump is your president. He's about to be our president again. And that is something that I think all of us need to consider when we're talking about the fact that one rule applies to somebody like Joe Biden, who apparently broke every precedent on earth by pardoning his son. And yet here we have, nobody pay attention to the wizard behind the curtain, somebody coming in who already pardoned every single person without going through any kind of pardon process like previous presidents had in his first term.
He never pardoned his son. Why are you even bringing Trump into this? This is why you lost the election. This is why Kamala lost the election. They kept talking about Trump. It's like you to tell us what you are going to do for the American people. You just kept talking about Trump. Now, why did Joe pardon his son? Well, Trump Trump said Trump is gonna bring Trump will, Trump still like, yeah, y'all finna lose big in 2028 and 2032. Facts.
for the most part, and who now says he'll do it again, and who now says he will use the Justice Department as an axe of vengeance to go after his enemies, starting with, and I quote, the Biden crime family. What do you expect was going to happen?
And Aaron, it's not just promising to go after some of his political rivals. He also seemed to equate Hunter Biden with the January 6th rioters. Hunter Biden, for all his faults, was convicted of basically not checking a box on a form to buy a gun and not paying taxes and a couple other things. But these folks were convicted of actually assaulting police officers, of destroying public property, the Capitol, etc. Do you see an equivalence between those two?
No, I don't see an equivalence between those two, but I believe that anybody who had attacked an officer and broke into the Capitol on January 6th should be held to a standard of the law and should be held to justice. Now, I think there's a difference between those who assaulted police officers and the severity of those crimes and other people that were there. That's fair because those meet different standards legally and by the standard of the law. All of that to say Donald Trump is going to likely pardon some January 6th people. That's not a surprise. He said he was going to do that. But to the point that Donald Trump broke something in this country, absolutely he did. He broke the norms. He shattered the expectations the American people had that government wasn't going to try to serve them. So what he wants to do now and what he's been clear that he plans to do in the Department of Justice is get the people out who have targeted the American people. We have seen the Department of Justice, the FBI, the IRS weaponized against everyday Americans. They have said, I've had enough. You saw it with parents in Virginia at school boards. You've seen people stand up in this country and be victimized by the federal government. That's what Donald Trump is going after. And considering he pardoned Hunter for over a decade of possible criminality and not just the federal firearms licensee paperwork that he filled out improperly, that Biden crime family title might not be that wrong, because if you're going back a whole decade for charges that didn't come through, what else was there? He knows something he didn't say.
He was never indicted for any of his dealings overseas. In fact, while he was investigated by the Trump administration going back to 2018. So
why the blatant pardon then?
Why do CNN always try to support Biden every single time? CNN tries to support Biden every time.
That's a big question.
Nevertheless, the insinuation that is being made that Biden committed these crimes, the Biden crime family thing, that's been debunked multiple times. There's no evidence that Joe Biden took advantage of his office, whether as vice president or president, to make gains financially.
But Hunter is not the only person in the Biden family. And so it's fair to say that it goes larger beyond the president.
He's also not the only person who's profited from having their relative in the Oval Office,
absolutely.
Right?
But again, there's no moral superiority in politics. I am talking about what Donald Trump and Republicans believe to be the case. Am I saying that Republicans are faultless and haven't used the government to their advantage before? No, because I'm not trying to be ignorant to the process here. But I can also say that in this case, it doesn't seem that far off base to say there's a crime family. When you look at this again, it was a 10-year pardon, not just for those two things that he was in trouble for. That's a big thing.
He could have been charged if there was evidence of actual wrongdoing. There's a difference between something being possibly unethical and profiting from having a relative in office and something actually being illegal. Again,
I think it's a fair question to ask Joe Biden then, to say, why did you have to give your son a full 10-year blanket pardon if you were only concerned about the two crimes and the weaponization in these cases? His statement was very long and attempt to be very thorough to try and not only express his heart behind why he made the decision, but the legality to try and say, my son should not be a victim of my decisions, that I believe this was politically motivated. He laid that out very clearly. But that's because but if that's the case, if it's just for these two crimes, why the 10 years? The president has questions he should be answering.
That question. I'll
Go ahead,
answer
Julie.
that question. That's an easy answer, Aaron. It's because you can indict a ham sandwich when you want to, and he's putting prosecutors in there. First it was Matt Gaetz, that didn't work out. Now it's going to be Pam Bondi, that's probably going to work out. And somebody like Kash Patel at the FBI, who are going to trump up whatever charges they want to trump up. And if you look at what Biden said, he was very clear. They're going to use my son to get to me. They are going to exploit my son to get to me. And you and I both know full well that if you have an FBI agent and you have an FBI director and you have a prosecutor that wants to charge you, they will find something to charge you with and let you deal with the fallout. They will investigate you and bankrupt you, even if they don't actually find anything to charge you with.
So they can indict Trump. They can indict Trump, guys. They can indict the 45th president of the United States. Find anything. Go bring somebody from 1922 to say he touched me. He was touching me at he was touching me at the store. But you want double standard for your son? These people are the worst. These people are the worst, guys.
They will make your life a living hell. Donald Trump actually is a convicted felon. So if you want to talk about Donald Trump's felonies, I'm very happy to talk about his multiple felonies. He was convicted by jury of his peers, as was Hunter Biden. The difference is that Donald Trump is about to go into the White House and has said repeatedly to his supporters, I am your vengeance. And that is what he's setting up the Justice Department to be. This is not normal. This is not George Bush. This is not Mitt Romney. This is not John McCain. This is not Ronald Reagan. This is not every other Republican you have ever voted for. This is an abnormal situation and an abnormal president who is using the Justice Department, which belongs to the American people, as his own private vendetta arm and organization. And that's
Julie,
why Joe Biden did what he did.
We start today in our politics lead with the stunning reversal from something President Biden and the White House have for months and months and months said he would emphatically
CNN, guys, the worst.
not do. Pardon his adult son, Hunter, who was convicted of 12 federal crimes, 6 of them felonies, including tax evasion and unlawful gun possession. Sources told CNN today that President Biden did not go through the office of the pardon attorney at the Justice Department, as is standard. In fact, President Biden has been discussing pardoning his son with top aides since Hunter's conviction in June, according to NBC News' reporting. While at the same time, the president was telling the rest of us this.
Let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes. I'm extremely proud of my son, Hunter. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know. And I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I'd abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
President Biden lying about this, of course, makes others in his administration and allies either credulous or complicit, including White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, who's been saying this for months to the American people.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well, is there,
I just said no. I just answered. I could speak for the president, and he said he would not pardon his son.
does the president have any intention of pardoning him?
We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no.
The answer does not stand. There was, of course, a political benefit to President Biden and his allies telling this lie. In June, when Hunter Biden was found guilty on 3 felony gun charges, his father, the president, was still running for re-election against former President Donald Trump, and Democrats and progressives saw this as an opportunity to contrast the current and former president.
I don't think there's any chance that President Biden is going to do that, unlike his predecessor, who pardoned all of his friends and anyone who had any access to him.
What is before us is a president who is living the rule of law. He is living it in in the most personal way. He is not pardoning his son, which he could do. He is not doing it because he is living what it means to have a rule of law in this country.
Living the rule of law. Beyond the pardon and beyond the lie about the pardon, President Biden is doing what he claimed he would not do. He is undermining his own Justice Department. In his statement, Biden says, quote, a carefully negotiated plea deal agreed to by the Department of Justice unraveled in the courtroom with a number of my political opponents in Congress taking credit for bringing political pressure on the process, unquote. But that is not entirely what happened. That, quote, political pressure was not the only factor. The plea deal collapsed in part because Hunter Biden wanted more immunity than prosecutors were offering. And now it's President Biden, not his successor, President-elect Trump, who is blaming his own Department of Justice for being politicized, saying, quote, "I also believe raw politics has infected this process and it led to a miscarriage of justice," unquote. Today's special counsel, David Weiss, who prosecuted Hunter Biden, pushed back on the president's justification for pardoning his son in a court filing, quote, "There was none and never has been any evidence of vindictive or selective prosecution in this case," Weiss wrote. There are right now plenty of officials at the U.S. Justice Department furious at President Biden for blaming them for doing their jobs to uphold the law against a lawbreaker, Hunter Biden. There is even anger from members of the president's party openly, such as Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado, who posted on Twitter, quote, "President Biden's decision put personal interest ahead of duty and further erodes America's faith that the Justice Department is fair and equal for all." Or Senator Gary Peters of Michigan, who posted, quote, "President Biden's decision to pardon his son was wrong. The president's family and allies shouldn't get special treatment. This was an improper use of power. It erodes trust in our government, and it emboldens others to bend justice to suit their interests." And look, while we all can sympathize with a president who has already lost 2 children under tragic circumstances, and surely most of us would help our kids in any way we possibly could, it is also true that today's act further portrays the criminal justice system as one that helps the well-connected. Prisons are full of people who have made bad choices, even broken laws, because of their addictions. It's too bad for them that they have the wrong last name. I want to bring in the panel and start with our senior White House correspondent, MJ Lee. MJ, you have some new reporting that Biden allies are not happy.
Yeah, they're not happy. And the anger that I'm picking up on is actually less on the decision itself, though there are clearly plenty of Democrats that disagree with the decision to pardon his son. The fuming that I am picking up on and the exasperated confusion is this decision by the president to, over the course of many months, insist publicly that he was not going to do this. I know that there have to be allies and former aides and people around him that genuinely believed him when he said that he wasn't going to do this. I've actually yet to find such a person. Everyone that I have spoken to so far, and that includes senior-most former White House and administration officials, never believed the president when he said he wasn't going to pardon his son. Their view was basically, it's exactly what you said. Hunter is his son, and he was always going to be his father, who would have wanted to do anything to protect his son. One former senior West Wing aide, just to give you a taste of the kinds of things I'm hearing, they said this: anyone who was even close to the top knew that he was probably going to do this. Why did we pretend otherwise? I think the widespread view right now is that at least the hypocrisy criticism was avoidable, that there were many things that the president could have said as an alternative to, I am not going to do this, like, you know, I'm not focused on that right now. I just want to focus on being a supportive father. They could have said, this is not something that we have any updates for you on. That's certainly an answer that, as a White House reporter, I'm used to hearing.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what, because if there had been a plea deal, they would have respected that theoretically. Kim Whaley, you've literally written a book on pardons. You can hold it up now.
Yeah,
you want to
there
show
it is.
pardon power, how the pardon system works and why. So what's interesting here is that President Biden did not only grant clemency for the tax and gun offenses. He basically gives him 10 years. Anything you did illegal in this decade, forgiven.
Yeah, it's a bit like what Gerald Ford did for Richard Nixon in connection with Watergate. And I suspect the concern is, in part, what Donald Trump is promising to do to the Justice Department and the FBI, turn it into an arm of retribution and vengeance, and have them go back over that time period and find crimes or at least investigate crimes. If the idea was to protect his son from, I think, a new brand of Justice Department, if we believe the president-elect, that's probably what the idea was behind that broad pardon. And that historical precedent of Nixon pardon is what stands as a green light for that kind of thing. The Supreme Court's never said that you can pardon someone without an indictment. Supreme Court has said you can't pardon someone for a crime that's never even happened yet. But I think what Gerald Ford did for Nixon sends a message moving forward. This is legit for a president, and the pardon power is very broad.
Yeah, January 2014 through December 2024, which is interesting because I think that's when Hunter Biden got involved with Ukrainian energy interests, Burisma, and the like, and also that was when he was dealing with addiction, his brother's death, and on and on. Let me just, can I ask you a raw politics question here?
Sure.
Because you're a Democrat, you want Democrats to get elected. Doesn't this hurt the Democratic Party?
I think that it hurts a narrative that continues out there. Like, to your point, I think we all knew. I didn't work for Joe Biden. I wasn't part of Joe Biden's campaign. I obviously has never been in the White House.
On the other hand, you work for Bernie Sanders, we should point out.
Absolutely. If he'd have been president, you should have seen the pardons I would have gotten. But to another topic, it's the lie. It's the thing that you said at the beginning. We all knew. I knew as an operative. The political question is just say, pivot, go on. I knew from day one there's something about a love of a child that nobody's denying here. It's the fact of what you put in the beginning of this segment about what you say about that in the beginning that hurts now. Folks will pivot and say, well, Donald Trump has put a pardon out for somebody who's now the ambassador to France, for God's sakes. Maybe he thought politically this was a good thing because it's a good thing for Trump because he won every battleground state. I'm not being funny about that, but I'm being honest when there is a difference between the two, but the lie is where the hurting will start.
And more breaking news tonight. President Joe Biden's pardon of his son Hunter officially filed in court. You see the document there on your screen with the president's signature at the bottom. Sources telling CNN that Hunter Biden would not have pleaded guilty in September to all 9 tax charges had he not expected his father to pardon him. After all, it could have come with a jail term of nearly 20 years. But this comes in spite of what Biden has said so many times publicly.
Have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes. Abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
There's no ambiguity about that. President Biden making the final decision, of course, though, to pardon his son after Trump said he'd appoint Kash Patel to run the FBI. And this is some of what Kash Patel, the man Trump just tapped to lead that FBI, has said about Hunter Biden.
I've always said, and I still believe, Hunter Biden's going to be indicted for criminal activity. Hunter Biden is guilty of violating the Foreign Agents Registration Act.
They know what Hunter Biden's laptop contained. These laptops are the basis of tremendous amounts of criminal activity.
Hunter Biden will be charged no matter what.
And Patel's soon-to-be boss, Pam Bondi, has also talked quite a bit about Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden, his son Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden. Very serious charges against Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden's dealings.
And that's just a small portion. There's a lot more where that came from. So look, it's clear that Hunter Biden is top of mind for Trump's incoming team, who would be in charge of prosecutions. As for Trump himself, tonight he is responding to Biden's pardon, writing, does the pardon give...
What does that have to do with pardon? You said you were not going to pardon this boy, and you still pardon him, and now you're playing Kash Patel, Pam Bundy's video of them saying Hunter Biden is going to be indicted. He's going to be convicted. This is the whole point. You said you weren't gonna pardon him, but you did. I mean, what father would say they wouldn't pardon their son?
Given by Joe to Hunter include the J6 hostages who have now been in prison for years. Such an abuse and miscarriage of justice. Of course, the reality of it is pardons are often abused by outgoing presidents. We see it all again and again. Mark Rich, remember? Trump himself, though, doled out dozens of pardons to his allies and supporters, including 26 in the final hours of his administration, like his daughter's father-in-law, Charles Kushner. Trump in December 2020 pardoned Kushner, who had pled guilty to tax evasion and making illegal campaign donations. Chris Christie, the U.S. attorney for New Jersey at the time, called Kushner's offenses, quote, one of the most loathsome, disgusting crimes that I ever prosecuted. You can look up why. Prostitution is part of it. And now Kushner is about to be named Trump's ambassador to France. Paula Reed is out front.
Even as President Biden publicly declared he wouldn't pardon his son,
I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Sources tell CNN that people in the West Wing and those close to Hunter Biden believed a pardon was always coming.
Will you testify?
In June, Hunter became the first child of a sitting president to be convicted of a crime.
The jury has found Hunter Biden, the president's son, guilty on all 3 counts in this case after 3 hours of deliberation.
Good morning.
After that historic conviction on gun charges, he faced another federal case in Los Angeles on tax charges. But just hours before the trial was set to begin, he entered a surprise guilty plea on all of the counts he faced.
This plea prevents that kind of show trial that would have not provided all the facts or served any real point in justice.
Sources familiar with Hunter's legal strategy tell CNN he would not have pleaded guilty, exposing himself to the possibility of 17 years in prison and possibly more than $1 million in fines without the expectation of some form of clemency. And even as the White House repeatedly denied a pardon was on the table, one senior White House official told CNN they felt certain Biden would pardon his son before leaving office, saying, "I know how much he worries about Hunter." Then, after the president spent the Thanksgiving holiday with Hunter, his wife, and their son, Biden informed his staff about the pardon decision on Saturday night. On Monday, the White House had no clear explanation for the president's flip-flop.
I can speak to where we are today, and so I can't speak to hypotheticals here. Where we are today, the president made this decision over the weekend. He thought about it, he wrestled with it.
A former White House staffer asks the question, which is, if it was so obvious that the president was going to pardon his son, why did he continue to pretend otherwise? We do not have an answer for that. But one source does point out that Biden allowed David Weiss, the U.S. attorney who was investigating Hunter Biden, that began in the Trump administration, to continue his work throughout his administration. And the Justice Department brought 2 cases against Hunter Biden. This source says, look, all this effort that Biden has put into allowing the Justice Department to operate independently shouldn't be undermined by this pardon. But that's not been the official word out of the White House, and their contradictory statements have made this pardon a far greater controversy. Erin?
All right, Paula, thank you very much. All right, let me start here with former Congressman Mondaire Jones. You worked in the Obama Justice Department. So, look, Biden said again and again, and there was no ambiguity, he wasn't going to do this. Sources are telling us that Hunter Biden would not have agreed to plead guilty in September if he didn't think a pardon was coming. So basically, the whole guilty plea was because I know I'm going to get Dad to do this for me. I mean, is this the right ending here?
So I wish the president had never made those commitments publicly. I certainly never expected that he would not pardon his only surviving son for something that there was strong evidence of that no one else would have been charged with, but for his political connections to the president. I mean, I think there's strong evidence that Hunter Biden would never have been prosecuted for this.
Even on the tax stuff?
Correct. What happens typically is you pay back the money that you owe with interest and maybe financial penalties. But the idea that you would be criminally prosecuted for that, I don't think that would have happened absent the political pressure, which is what led to the special counsel appointment in the first place. I am so tired of people who have been promoting and endorsing unfailingly, really, a president who is now a convicted felon on 34 felony counts and who had, frankly, over 50 other felony counts pending before they were dismissed because of his reelection, saying that all of a sudden that this shows that it's the Democrats who don't care about holding people to the rule of law. That is not what this example is of.
Governor Pawlenty?
Well, this is a slippery slope. And so when you have, for example, Hillary Clinton mischaracterizing the research on the dossier as a legal expense when it was really opposition research, those cases normally go to the FEC and you get a civil penalty. When it's Donald Trump, you get prosecuted criminally for a similar offense. And that's his argument. And look, there's a lot of issues here, but this situation with President Biden and this particular pardon, it is corrosive. It is hypocritical. It is self-serving for all the obvious reasons in your report. But it's one other thing, too, that I think got lost in the overall story. This pardon goes back 10 years. It goes back to 2014. So if you wanted to pardon him just for the gun charge and just for the related drug charges or even the tax charges, that's one thing. But when you go all the way back to 2014, you also remove any further criminal scrutiny for the dealings that Hunter and maybe Joe Biden himself had in Ukraine, but more specifically China. And I think that is self-serving, it's cynical, and it is really corrosive.
Referring to Chinese business deals that Hunter Biden was a part of, as well as being on the board of Burisma. Ryan, it is a sweeping pardon, as Governor Pawlenty points out. It covers 11 years. It would cover all of those timeframes as well. What do you think?
So I think that the 11 years is probably drafted in order to protect Hunter Biden against a retributive president and a kind of Kash Patel FBI director and potentially a Pam Bondi attorney general. That's the design of it. That's why it's that sweeping. But at the same time, it doesn't fully explain what happened here. So the timing of the pardon is odd. Why are we having a pardon before the sentencing, which was about to occur later in the month? You would think that that would be the appropriate time after the judges get to weigh in and say what would be the appropriate sentence. And to do that now also is a way of subverting the justice system. So I do think there are many ways in which, when President Biden first said he would never, ever pardon Hunter Biden, people talked about that as being righteous because he was respecting the justice system. And now he's issued the pardon. I don't think it can be seen as righteous. It really is an injury to the justice system.
Because of the mistake that Monday's saying, you wish he had never said that he wouldn't do it.
I think
because it's that, honestly, lie. I mean, I don't know what else, what I'm going to call it. That's what it was. It ended up being a lie in retrospect, that he wouldn't do that.
I mean, look, the press secretary says that he changed his mind. And so under that theory, he didn't lie at the time. He didn't knowingly tell a lie.
Right.
Here's the thing. Donald Trump has pardoned, as you mentioned, 144 people for crimes far worse than this. One wrong doesn't make a right. That's not what I'm saying. But just in the context of this idea that somehow the American people are going to say that a president's lawful use of his pardon power against someone who had never been charged with these crimes in the first place is somehow showing that
Gretchen, at this point, I mean, does it seem like Pete Hegseth will survive this process?
Look, I think the pivotal moment today was Senator Lindsey Graham coming out and questioning this. Aside from what you played, he also said that he wants to make sure that every young woman who joins the military feels respected. And the reason that jumped out at me is because I've worked with Senator Lindsey Graham on 3 bipartisan bills, 2 of which passed into law, and they
Ladies and gentlemen, my mic was off. Oh, man. My mic was off, guys. I'm so sorry. I was saying that there is no point, in criticizing a father that pardoned his son. However, we are criticizing the lie. You lied. You said repeatedly that you're not going to pardon your son. Nobody begged you. Nobody said, please don't pardon your son. Respect the rule of law. Embrace the DOJ. Embrace the jury of his peers. Nobody asked you to do that. You are the president of the United States. We know you got the power to do it. Nobody asked you questions, okay? Just say, you know what? I'm going to think about it. I don't know for now. Maybe, I don't know. We're going to look into it. You know what? When the time comes, I'll let you know. Instead, you kept saying, no, I'm never going to pardon my son. I'll let the DOJ handle it. I'll let the jury of his peers handle it. Now they handled it. You handled it even better.
were both about sexual misconduct. So the idea that Senator Graham would not be taking pause right now is not surprising to me at all.
Van, I mean, you heard what Graham said. Do you think this will survive?
Yeah, it's hard to know, but I mean, you got to think about what is this job? If you're running one of the biggest departments, the biggest bureaucracies, the most powerful in the world, Department of Defense, you've either got to be able to be excellent on the inside, an unbelievable administrator, able to deal with moving chess pieces all around the world, or you've got to be a great public face. You've got to be able to go out there and recruit people and stand up. He's got two black eyes on that public face, and he can't run anything but his mouth. So,
right, there's a very damaging article in the New Yorker, very well researched, about allegations made at two veterans organizations, nonprofits, very small. One of them is a very small organization, that he essentially, according to the reporting, was essentially forced out of.
Right, exactly.
For
So
financial mismanagement.
Right. So he's not a great public face at this point, and he can't run anything but his mouth. And the small things he had to run, he ran badly. So you start wondering, why is this guy in charge?
David, I mean, how much longer do you think the president-elect will be okay with this kind of drip, drip, drip of bad headlines about Hegseth?
Yeah, listen, Anderson, I don't suspect that President Trump will ever cut Pete free. I think it's going to be up to Pete to determine at one point if and when he decides that he doesn't have the votes. And I think, look, I think it's very smart for him to go on Fox tomorrow and explain himself. He is kind of fighting this one hand tied behind his back. A lot of these reports are, not sourced. They have they're anonymous sources and kind of whispers down the lane. And so I think that it's smart for him to go out and give his side of the story and try to win some of these senators back. He's doing it, senator by senator. He needs to get a good whip count and know what it looks like there in the Senate. And he's going to have to answer a lot of tough questions when he gets to the Armed Services Committee. I think that, Caitlin was talking about the FBI background checks. They may not mean much to the folks at Mar-a-Lago, but they do mean a lot to the senators. And I think they paid a great deal of attention to that. And I think that'll provide a great deal of weight. So I think that if he does get FBI background check and vetted, there's no pass or fail. They just present they bring a big file up and give it to each senator to read, and they take it with you when they leave. I think that's important. And I think it's important for Pete to get a hearing to be able to stand on his own 2 feet and answer those questions. To Vance's point, we had the current Secretary of Defense was missing. He wasn't at work for 7 days, and the entire Department of Defense didn't even know it. The president didn't know it. The current Secretary of Defense oversaw one of the most regrettable military withdrawals from Afghanistan, from any country, but from Afghanistan. And so, I don't know that what people say. What are his requirements? He's got the faith of the president. He's got the ear of the president. He's got the confidence of the president. I think that's a lot.
David, it doesn't concern you.
And that right there, for the defense, Minister of Defense, or whatever they're talking about Pete Hegseth, former guy was absent for 7 days and nobody knew. That's just crazy. And Pete Hegseth is most likely never going to get confirmed because now they're saying they want to replace him with Ron DeSantis.
I mean, as somebody who obviously you have military background, very big on veterans causes and organizations, that 2 of the organizations he worked with that he, according to the reporting, was essentially pushed out of.
Yeah. So Anderson, I think he needs to answer those questions. I'd like to hear the answers, but I'm not just going to take at faith from a report in the New Yorker and say, well, that's it. That's the tablets that were handed down by God to Moses, right? I want to hear Pete's side of the story. Let him explain it.
Right. Well, Margaret Hoover was on the air worked at one of these organizations and spoke publicly.
There's so many allegations. I mean, it's not just about financial mismanagement at these 2 organizations. It's the sexual misconduct claims. It's the alcohol alleged problems. I mean, it just keeps coming out. I just can't believe that this would ever go to a hearing. And the thing I've been thinking about today, aside from why we even teach our kids to have morals and values, is that, I mean, why would Pete Hegseth put himself in this situation? And the only answer that I can come up with is that when you work at Fox, it's kind of like a bubble, and maybe he just felt like none of this would ever come out, and that Trump really didn't have any repercussions for some of the alleged sexual misconduct things that he had in his past as well.
Yeah, I mean, the reporting by Jay Mayer, Van, a whistleblower report that claims when Hegseth was president of Concerned Veterans for America, he was, quote, repeatedly intoxicated while acting in his official capacity to the point of needing to be carried out of the organization's events. As Gretchen was saying, there are other accusations of sexual impropriety, misconduct, and also treatment of women at these organizations, being drunk in a bar, chanting about killing Muslims. The list is a long one.
I just don't get it. I mean, the Republican Party is supposedly a party that wants America to be strong, wants America to be great, wants to put America first. I don't think any of the people who voted for Donald Trump, who run small businesses, would hire this guy to be a floor-room manager. He's just not coming across as the type of person that you would want in any position of authority. And we'll just have to see. I do think that maybe we're in an age where personal valor doesn't matter in the military anymore, but I don't think we're there yet.
I'm going to tell you who should be the pick, and that is Senator Joni Ernst. And she's having reservations right now, and here's why. She's a veteran, she's a sexual assault survivor, and she has a history of voting against people who have sexual misconduct allegations against them. She would be a slam dunk victory for President Trump, and I've heard through the grapevine that she's number 2 on the list.
David, what does it take to run the Department of Defense? I mean, what is it? It's obviously a huge bureaucratic organization. I mean, is it traditionally somebody who has management experience? What do you think it takes?
Yeah, look, so Anderson, it's up to the United States Senate to determine what it takes, right? That's the advice and consent role. Look, the secretary has to provide sound judgment, has to provide the president with good advice. The secretary has a deputy secretary, has lots of undersecretaries, deputy assistant secretaries. So it's running a huge organization, but you manage, small people who end up running a huge organization. Look, Pete's going to have to explain a lot of things, and President Trump's going to have to determine how much political capital he wants to expend here. As any politician, this president has a limited amount of political capital to burn, and you've got a lot of nominees. You've got a lot of nominees you want to get through, and at some point you're going to make a judgment, and Pete Hegseth's going to count heads, and you're going to see whether or not their votes are there, whether to get to even a hearing. So I think that the Senate will ultimately decide, as they always do. I think the FBI background checks are important here. They give the senators a lot of confidence. I think Pete Hegseth's we're going to hear from him tomorrow. Let's see what he has to say.
But but even the proposed deputy secretary is worrisome. I mean, it's got like a billionaire war profiteer that's kind of like a party guy as well. So I mean, I don't understand who's going to be running the department.
Yeah, but that's petty compared to the other stuff that we're facing.
Dan Jones, Gretchen Carlson, David Urban, thank you. Coming up next, a lot.
Thank you for tuning in to the live stream. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. Yes, according to the news now, it is Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, that may be replacing Pete Hegseth. We're not sure yet. However, what is the border czar talking about? Tom Homan. Let's get it. Double tap your screen. Subscribe to the channel. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes, and you have to try to learn English, and you have to wait in line.
Those who enter our country illegally and those who employ them disrespect the rule of law. And because we live in an age where terrorists are challenging our borders, we cannot allow people to pour into the U.S. undetected, undocumented, and unchecked.
Wow, disrespect the rule of law and deport them, no questions asked. Now, meanwhile, Tom Homan has also expressed a desire to meet with Mayor Eric Adams to work on solving the border crisis. He joins us now with more. Mr. Homan, welcome back. Glad to have you. I got to tip my hat to the mayor. At one point, he was inviting illegal immigrants into his city, and then they came in large numbers, and then they overwhelmed his city, and then he had no room for them, and then crime went through the roof. And he had to learn the hard way, but he certainly has changed his tune. What do you make of that?
I'm pleasantly surprised. I mean, last week he reached out to the transition team and wanted to meet with me. I got that message this weekend. He actually reached out to me today personally and like to meet, and I told him, I said, look, I can be in New York City on December 12th. So let's set a date, and I'll gladly go to New York City. I'm willing to talk to anybody about the national security threat that this administration created, especially the amount of criminal aliens that are in this country that are causing a crime increase in New York City and other big cities. I'm game. Yeah. Let's do December 12th. I'm ready to go.
What about Obama's comments and Hillary's comments? Look how far this party has come. Look how it has now become a party that wants to decriminalize illegal immigration, offer free food, housing, health care, education, sex change operations, legal driver's licenses, and taxpayer-funded college education. How did they evolve from what Obama and Clinton were saying in 06 and 08 into what Kamala was running on in this election?
Look, President Bill Clinton even made stronger comments about illegal immigration. And look, Sean, you got me. I don't understand why this administration lost their minds. I mean, we're at the point now with this administration where it's someone who enforces the law, ICE officers, they're the bad guys. But those who broke our laws, they're the victims. This whole world's upside down under this administration. That's why I'm very excited about President Trump taking back the White House January 20th. I'm waiting. I'm not waiting to start my job. I'm already meeting with Texas Governor Abbott. I'm here in Dallas, Texas. I go to Arizona tomorrow. We're already working on fixing this problem, so can't wait for January 20th so we can actually get started doing the real work.
All right, which, by the way, I can't wait for you to get on the job and do the job I know you're capable of doing and that you will do. But it is a daunting challenge. How do you find, we know there are terrorists in this country, known terrorists in the country, but we don't know where they are. We have gang members, we have cartel members, we have murderers, we have rapists, we have violent criminals in the country. How do we identify them? How do we find them? How do we deport them? How do you pull that off?
Look, it's a daunting job, and it's going to be a hard job to find these people. A lot of these people don't have a digital footprint because they come under false names. This administration, they released them. They didn't do proper vetting. I'm finding out today that a lot of these children, the 300,000 missing children, that they didn't even take fingerprints of the sponsors that they supposedly, vetted. So it's going to be a daunting task. I'm hoping the records maintain. I know Jim Jordan reached out and told them to maintain the records. I doubt that's going to happen. It's going to be a difficult task, but ICE is very good at what they do. Under the Trump administration, they removed record amounts of criminal aliens. Under the Biden administration, ICE has the lowest numbers of removals in the history of the agency, even though we have a historic crisis. So it's going to be hard work, but I got 20,000 men and women that are very good at this. We're going to work very hard to find as many as we can, and at the same time rescue these children.
While you prioritize deporting criminal aliens and known terrorists and cartel members and gang members, what happens when law enforcement, on an everyday basis, encounters people that are in the country illegally? What do you do in that case?
Great question. That's why I'm excited about meeting with Eric Adams. So right now, NYPD doesn't assist us. They don't accept our detainers. I used to have a dozen agents in Rikers Island. Now we got 0. So, and this is what the sanctuary cities need to understand. And if you don't let us in your jail, if we can't arrest a bad guy in the jail and you release him, that means I got to send a team of agents into the community. And when we find him, and we will, there's going to be others that weren't even on the radar that are in the country legally. Well, guess what? They're going too. So these sanctuary city policies are going to result in exactly what you don't want. More agents in your neighborhoods, and that's what we have to do. So I'm hoping meetings with sanctuary cities, mayors like Eric Adams will help us get the bad guy in the safety and security of the jail rather than sending ICE agents out to neighborhoods where the bad guy has access to who knows what weapons. It's more dangerous for the officers, it's more dangerous for the alien, it's more dangerous for the community. Work with us, help us make your city safer.
Okay, let's be very clear. Jurisdiction, we have the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. We have the Arizona decision. Jurisdiction in terms of who makes the decision about deportation lies with the federal government. If Gavin Newsom or Kathy Hochul or any liberal governor, mayor, whatever, wants to get in the way, you will not allow that, correct? That is not constitutional.
I will. No. They can fail to help us, so get out of the way. We're doing it. You can sit there and watch. However, you can't cross the line. I've said it many times over the past 2 weeks. Title 8, United States Code 1324, Section 3, III. It is a felony to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. It's a felony to impede on law enforcement.
Yo, Tom Homan's face looks like the border wall, guys. His face looks like the border wall. Do not cross this dude. Don't cross him.
Officer in the performance of their duties. Don't cross that line because there will be consequences. And thank God we got a strong Attorney General coming in, Pam Bondi, and I will push those prosecutions. So you cannot help watch us, which I can't believe a mayor or a governor doesn't want to take public safety threats out of the community. You can sit there and watch us do it, but do not cross that line. There will be consequences.
So every governor, every mayor, sanctuary city, sanctuary state has been guilty of violating the law. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, I have said have blood on their hands, and they have been aiding and abetting in the law breaking. But that.
There you have it, guys. There you have it. Tom Holman, legendary. All right, Hunter.
If Biden actually believed that his son was politicized by the Justice Department's prosecution, then why has he not fired one employee of the Justice Department? Because if he believes that there's corruption, if he believes that they're unfairly targeting individuals, he has the authority to fire those prosecutors, yet he hasn't done that.
Congressman Jason Smith, who led one of the Republican investigations into Hunter Biden, reacting to President Biden's reversal and pardoning his son. Now, Democrats are worrying this move throws open the door for President-elect Trump to issue expansive clemency. Fox News contributor Andy McCarthy is here now. Do you have any concerns, Andy?
Well, I think you're going to see more pardons, but they're going to happen before Trump gets in. The only sense I can make, Sandra, out of the structure of Hunter Biden's pardon is that President Biden has to pardon other people who were involved in what we've called the Biden influence peddling scheme that went on for so many years. Otherwise, the pardon doesn't make sense to me. I can explain why that is, just reading it if you'd like.
Yeah, please do. I mean, the concern obviously is for some what sort of pardons we might see under a Trump presidency, but there's still time left in this presidency, Andy.
Yeah, and usually, Sandra, the scandalous pardons happen when a failed president is on his way out the door. And these pardons happened early because they didn't want Hunter to get sentenced and have the judgment of conviction entered, which is what would have started to happen next week. But let me just explain. This pardon is extraordinary in that it gives him basically 11 years of immunity from everything conceivable in federal law beginning in 2014. It's obviously targeting the years that the Biden Justice Department averted its eyes from, namely 2014 through 2016, when Joe Biden was the Obama administration vice president, and when his influence was at its most valuable for people who might be willing to pay Hunter and others for it. The reason I say that there have to be more pardons is what they're obviously worried about is an investigation by the Trump Justice Department of this scheme. But by giving Hunter this pardon, what you've done is immunized him. He now has no Fifth Amendment privilege, which means if they're really worried about a Trump Justice Department investigation, they could bring Hunter into the grand jury and make him testify about everybody else who was involved in the scheme. So if what you're really worried about, which is what Biden appears to be worried about, is that kind of investigation, which looks into the things, especially 2014 through 2016, that the Biden Justice Department didn't look at, it doesn't make sense to pardon only Hunter. You'd have to pardon everybody.
What, Andy, as we leave you off here, I guess, like, what shocks you the most about all of this? Because there are some, obviously, who will say in reaction to this, well, not shocking, that as the outgoing president would choose to pardon his own son. But what really sort of stands out to you the most as we continue to cover this?
Well, I think the cynicism of Biden is the most shocking thing, because he said again and again and again that he wouldn't pardon Hunter. And I always said that was laughable, Sandra, from the first time that he said it, because if you looked at Hunter's litigation strategy in these cases, it only made sense if he knew he was going to get a pardon. But when I say the cynicism is what backs me up, it goes on to this day. I mean, even after that history of lie after lie, today they come out, or they began to come out on Sunday, saying that Hunter was selectively prosecuted and there was prosecutorial misconduct in connection with his investigation. All of that prosecution was play acting. They tried to get rid of the Hunter case. They tried to make it disappear, and they only prosecuted him because they knew in the end his father would pardon him if all else failed. But as the guest that you played the clip from before said, he hasn't fired anyone if he really believed there was prosecutorial indiscretion here.
Jonathan Turley says President Biden cemented his legacy as a liar in chief, as his pardon of son Hunter culminates.
Liar in chief, bro. As a liar in chief.
years of lying to the public about his knowledge and intentions in the influence peddling scandals surrounding his family. Meanwhile, special counsel David Weiss objecting to the motion to dismiss Hunter's case. The GW law professor and Fox News contributor Jonathan Turley heard us talking about him and scrambled to the Zoom and joins us now. So, Jonathan, first off, on David Weiss saying, I don't think we should go ahead and follow through on the pardon. We should follow through in the case. Your thought?
I think it's just positively nuts. Of course, he should dismiss the case. I think it's an effort to try to scrub away the stain of this case for Weiss. You know, he was at the center of that sweetheart deal. He wanted to give the Bidens precisely what the president just gave in this pardon, a sweeping immunity for not just crimes he was accused of, but other unnamed crimes. He's not going to scrub that away. And saying that I'd like to stay in this fight a little bit longer is unlikely to impress these judges. You know, this is not here to redeem yourself. It's the question is there a case to be tried? And the answer is no, there's not.
You also believe that Hunter Biden might not be out of trouble yet. Why?
Well, you know, the president clearly is hoping that he's given him this sweeping protection, and that includes unnamed crimes. Quite literally, you know, Hunter Biden could have, 6 heads in a duffel bag in his basement, and this would cover it as long as he committed those murders during this 10-year period. It would not protect him, by the way, from state charges. But it's a sweeping pardon that we haven't seen really the likes of since Nixon. It's pretty unprecedented in that respect. The problem is that Hunter could be called before Congress. Congress has committees that are still looking into the influence peddling scandal involving millions and millions of dollars. He could be called to testify. Last time he did that, the House accused him of being misleading, even false in his testimony. If he commits perjury again, it's a new crime, and this pardon will not have an impact, and he could face additional charges.
You also write that he might not have to pay all his taxes back. And number 2 is there are so many questions. What'd you do with the money in China? What'd you do with the money you got from Moscow Mayor? How did you get the money from the Romanian?
What do you do with the money? What do you do with the money, Hunter?
Billionaire. What about Carlos Slim? Is he ever gonna have to pay taxes on this or answer the question, what did you do to earn that?
Well, I think he should be called to Congress and called to give a full account. We have a lot of questions. You know, the Bidens have been notorious for nepotism and influence peddling. I've been writing about them from before Biden was vice president. They are the goats of this favorite form of corruption in D.C., which is influence peddling. And this pardon really sealed that status. I mean, we've never seen anything like them. I mean, they have done an amazing job in avoiding any responsibility, accountability, or even answers. Congress can demand those answers.
Would be nice. I think it'd always take the fifth, I guess. Is there any doubt in your mind that Jim Biden and the whole family gets a pardon? The brother is next?
Well, I mean, this seems to be a free fall for the Biden administration in terms of ethics. I mean, this is the final corruption, in my view, of the Biden administration. They have really untethered themselves from any principles. So nothing would surprise me at this point.
Well, a couple things. One is I'm a dad, so I get the dad piece as a father. You know, I'd do anything to protect my children, my son, my daughter. You know, I suspect you're the same. All of us, you know, I think feel that way. But as somebody who, you know, cares about public service and reestablishing trust and credibility, it's, as I mentioned, it's a setback. It doesn't help those of us who are really trying hard to get people to, you know, believe in government and elected officials again.
You know, you're a great dad, it sounds like. It depends on the day with my kids, Congressman, but I digress. I see what you're saying, and your heart's in the right place. I just wonder how this could boomerang on the president, seeing as he said this so many times, and everyone fully aware he was saying it as a dad, then as a dad now. Do you think he was just stringing us along?
I have no idea. I mean, I think it sounds like he was home or with his family on Thanksgiving, and you know, that's got to be rough for a couple of days of being hounded by your son saying, hey, I want you to do this. As a dad, I think that's a tough position. Look, I treat everyone the same. I didn't like when Trump did this, when he pardoned people who were close to him or family members. He pardoned Kirshner's father, right? And then now Kirshner's going to be the ambassador to France. I don't think people like it when politicians do this, period.
But doesn't this have a sort of a unique spin to it, Congressman, in that this is like an all-encompassing pardon? It goes all the way back almost 10 years to, obviously before, the association with Burisma, of course, the Ukrainian energy concern. So it wipes out a lot of potential sins that could still come up.
Yeah, so that is unique to this, and I think that's makes it even more problematic. I mean, one of the questions that the White House should be wrestling with is if this is about ending political retribution and the nonsense around people using positions of power, the justice system to go after their political enemies, pardon a whole bunch of people. Put a bunch of people that might be on both sides, that might be, targets of political retribution, because I do think the American people want to be done with it, whether it's Biden doing it or if Trump starts to mess around with this stuff too. I just think people want them focused entirely on them, which, seems pretty simple.
As expected, not surprised and disappointed.
He has to. If he doesn't pardon his son, he is directly implicated.
It's his son. He wants to keep him safe, especially we don't know what's coming.
It confirms a lot of what I've heard. He's a liar. And that was just another one of his lies.
Noah, what's the impact on Joe Biden's presidency, on his legacy of this major decision?
Well, the impact on his legacy, I think, will be very significant, but it's going to take some time to settle out. This is not registering as a seismic political event, only, as you saw in those reactions, only because everybody had already processed this before. Throughout you can go look at the polling. Throughout the Hunter Biden saga, voters did not believe the president. They didn't believe that Hunter Biden was anything other than guilty of the charges against him. They thought he was getting favorable treatment from the public, from the public sector, from the government. When he was convicted, they approved of the conviction, and they told CNN pollsters that they thought Joe Biden personally benefited from his son's corruption. I would guarantee you that most of those voters who thought that, which is a majority, didn't believe that Joe Biden wouldn't do anything other than pardon his son after having festooned himself with all the political liabilities associated with his son to hold him so close. It's a very human response, but it is nevertheless also a corrupt response. When the public comes to regard the pardon power as an instrument of corruption, say, oh, well, of course, obviously the president is going to forego his responsibility to protect the rule of law and protect his family, inoculate them against the consequences of their own actions. Deeply pernicious. This is the worst kind of lie, the lie that the liar knows is a lie and that the recipient of the lie understands is a lie, and it just washes over them because they believe that's what politicians do and that's what they're supposed to do. It erodes civic and social trust at a time when we have very little of both to spare.
And what's the impact on the incoming president's pardon environment?
Well, listen, precedents beget other precedents. That's why we should be very leery of setting precedents. One of the things that Joe Biden's defenders have retreated to is the notion that, well, Donald Trump's pardons were also really suspect, and he pardoned his son-in-law's father, Charles Kushner. And so, this is just an example
After
of
he had
that.
already done time in jail, I believe.
It's not the veracity of the narrative that matters. What matters is that they think, okay, well, the terms of engagement were expanded under this president, so we're going to expand them a little bit further, which will beget more expansion. This is an arms race that doesn't end. And until we get a president who exemplifies some propriety in office, then we're going to continue to see these precedents expanded in ways that the public will eventually regard as deeply corrupt. And the public will get what it wants.
You're so right. And it's sad, really, to watch people say, well, I just figured this would happen. It's his son.
Very sad.
I mean, that is such a, it would be a noble thing, hard, but to say, you know what, he's going to have to do a little time here, and we'll see what kind of it. Maybe that will, leave a big impact on him.
More Democrats are criticizing President Biden for pardoning his son. Many are pointing to President Biden promising to build his administration on an independent justice system, and he spent months pledging his son's legal fate. Well, the president ended up interfering in that process. Democrats offering at least some criticism include Colorado Governor Jared Polis, Representatives Greg Landsman, Seth Moulton, Greg Stanton, and Marie Gulsenkamp-Perez, and Senators Gary Peters, Michael Bennet, and Peter Welch, among others.
I think it will become really hard for us if, let's say, President-elect Trump decides to pardon the January 6th folks. Now what do we say? I mean, it becomes really hard because, folks will say, well, President Biden did the same exact thing.
Despite his presidential pardon, Hunter still has some work for his lawyers. They're petitioning federal courts in Delaware and California to dismiss and clear the indictments against him. Just a few hours ago, the judge in Delaware refused to wipe those charges from Hunter's record, only ordering that, pursuant to the executive grant of clemency signed by President Joseph R. Biden Jr., all proceedings in this case are hereby terminated, not dismissed. Hunter's legal team has a similar petition with the judge in California. We're still waiting on that decision. Several thousand miles away, Hunter's father ignored questions on the pardon while traveling in Angola.
Mr. President, why did you change your mind in pardoning your son?
President.
Thank you for tuning in to the live stream. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. The only thing I had against this whole situation was he lied about it. He should have said, you know what, when the time comes, I may pardon my son, or I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Ever he lied about it. Why would he lie about it? You know what I mean? Kept lying about it. Shouldn't have lied about it, bro.
Biden is scheduled to return here to the White House Thursday.
Axios writes this: Hunter Biden pardon deepens Dems' identity crisis. By pardoning Hunter on gun and tax convictions or any other crimes he may have committed between January 1st, 2014, December 1st, 2024, some Democrats believe Biden has sacrificed a moral high ground that's been foundational to the party's identity in the Trump era. Other Democrats see that framing as hopelessly naive and have posed the blunt question: what's the point of holding a moral high ground when America just elected a convicted felon? Again, that's Axios. Right up. Megan, what do you think in the reaction, especially with Democrats, on that pardon a day later?
Yeah, I think that both of those statements are true. In Axios' piece, I think that there are a group of Democrats who do think that we ceded the moral high ground here, and I think that I can understand why folks are frustrated on that, because the president was saying he wasn't going to pardon him and then ended up pardoning him. But again, Joe Biden's not going to lose another son. He already lost 2 children. So I think that, there's some facts there. But I also do think that we are in an identity crisis and trying to figure out where we're going from here. But I think that the Democrats need to focus on moving forward, finding a new generation of leadership here and moving more to the middle. I think that that's one thing that the electorate told us in the election, that they are much more moderate than the Democratic Party is leaning and behaving. And so I think that that is where the Democrats need to do some introspective looking here. And, you'll see that on the House when they're looking at some of their new chairs that their chairs for their different conferences that they're looking at. So I do think that the Democrats, you will see a new, younger leadership moving forward.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
So what, AOC? Was AOC? It's looking like AOC might be the new presidential nominee in 2028. All right, let me find that video for you guys, man. Let me find it. AOC. She may be the new nominee, guys. She may be the one. I'll play with AOC. AOC +3. Do not play with AOC. Alright, where is it? Where's it at? Where's it at? Where is it? Right here. Should I focus on that tomorrow? Let me see. Thank you for tuning in one more time. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. What do you guys think about the stock market?
Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson and Texas Congressman Wesley Hunt. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm sure you were totally illuminated by that last discussion. Senator Johnson, can I just ask you? I won't go to this again. I'm sorry. I've just got a burr under my saddle, if you will. I don't really think it's a fabulous idea to wait until the second half of the year or later to start talking seriously about tax cuts, whether they're individual tax cuts or corporate tax cuts or depreciation tax cuts and so forth. I don't like the sound of that. I want to restart the blue-collar boom, and it looks like the strategy is going to be a couple of reconciliation bills this year. I'm not sure I like the sound of that. But then again, you're the senator. What do you think, sir?
Well, in the end, it's going to be President Trump that's going to, I think, make the decision here. But internally, what I've been pushing for is our top priority must be to prevent a massive tax increase from starting in 2026. We have to forestall that. Now, exactly how we do that, we're talking about it. But listen, I'm happy to put up some quick wins, address the border, do some other things. But there are other ideas on the table here, so I just stay tuned. I'm with you, Larry. I think I'd rather move fast than delay this.
I mean, Wesley Hunt, look, I'm open to the whole thing. I wanted one big reconciliation bill, and that's what I thought Steve Scalise was putting together. One very big bill. Fiscal bill. It would include a lot of things that might not normally go into reconciliation, but fundamentally, it would cut spending. It would use regulatory tools. It would make the tax cuts permanent. And by the way, as you may know, Mike Crapo is going to be the Finance Committee Senate head. He's saying current policy, those tax cuts don't need to be rescored. New tax cuts, yes. Existing tax cuts, why should they be rescored? Existing spending increases are never rescored. All right, they're deficit increasers. Nobody touches them. We talked about this with Senator Cruz earlier. You have a thought on that, sir?
Mm-hmm. Well, look, the bottom line is this. We need to get the tax cuts done immediately, and the Senate Majority Leader talked about doing it within the first 30 days. And the reason why this has to get done is because we have been crushed by inflation in this country. Mm-hmm. We have been crushed by energy prices in this country. We've got to stimulate the economy by putting money back in the pockets of the tax-paying American. And I mean the everyday tax-paying American. And so if we want to get out of this inflationary state that we've been in for the past 4 years, if we want to re-stimulate our economy, we've got to unleash American energy like President Trump is talking about, and most importantly, codify the TCJA and get these tax cuts done as soon as possible, well before the midterms, so we can give him enough time for these policies to actually take in to the American public.
I mean, what won for him, Wesley? I'm going to come back to you in a minute, Senator Johnson, but what won for him? Look, take-home pay went up under Trump 1.0. Take-home pay went down under Joe Biden. That's blue-collar workers of all colors. I don't care what color you are. Black, brown, Asian, white, doesn't matter. His working class coalition expects a blue-collar boom. They expect take-home pay to go back up. It's not going to go up if we don't help with taxes.
You are correct. And no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. Those are the kinds of policies that we have got to do to help that blue-collar worker. And that's where we are going to get that boom. And quite frankly, Larry, this is why President Trump got elected, to do exactly what he is talking about right now, ensuring that every average, everyday American has more money in their pockets so they can reinvest back into their families, back into the economy, so we can grow our economy out of this rut. And right now, we're having a $2 trillion annual budget deficit. That's got to come to an end. And that's why DOGE is going to play a huge part in doing that. But not only that, we have to grow our way out of it by allowing Americans to make their own decisions to reinvest back in our economy here in the U.S.
Yes, sir. Couldn't agree more. Senator Johnson, can I switch gears, sir? I talked about Hegseth, worried about Hegseth. I talked about was that Senator Cruz. I want to ask you, Kash Patel. Kash Patel, in my humble opinion, would make a very good FBI director. I don't know what you're thinking and what are the chances are that his nomination would go through. What you think, Senator Johnson?
Well, I have to first comment. I'm fully supportive of what Senator Crapo is talking about. Use current policies as our baseline for the first budget we pass.
Yes.
Extend the TCJA. We can come back later. Then we can, again, I want to simplify and rationalize the tax code. We'll do that in the second phase, but we need to extend those tax cuts right now, and we can do it without even a budget score. It's a brilliant idea. We should use it. In terms of Kash Patel, like other Trump nominees, he's a fighter, and that's what Trump is going to need. You know that. these agencies are partisan. They are broken. They need to be fixed, and it's going to take people that President Trump has confidence in to do just that. So I'm completely supportive of Kash and these other nominees who are going to fight and start doing what President Trump campaigned on, which is completely reform.
Kash Patel may be confirmed. He X is looking like he may not be confirmed at this point because Trump is already saying maybe Ron DeSantis may replace him. So I mean, it's just this whole thing is just going wild. Most of his nominees are not even getting confirmed. They're not even going past the first stage. That's how wild this whole thing is. What is going on with Trudeau?
Robert Wolf is here, Fox News contributor and former economic advisor to President Obama, and Steve Moore, economic advisor to President-elect Trump and author of The Trump Economic Miracle. Steve, I'll start with you first. So what is President-elect Trump's strategy here? What do you know so far?
Well, Trump did say throughout the campaign that he was going to be the tariff man, and so he is basically moving forward with that agenda. Now, Sandra, you and Robert have known me a long time. I'm much more in the free trade camp, but I will say in certain circumstances, Trump's policies with respect to tariffs make sense, and I'll just give you one example of that. You know, I think the idea of imposing tariffs on China and Canada and Mexico, if they don't start helping us keep these lethal drugs out of our country, I'm talking about fentanyl, which is one of the leading causes of death of young people in America. I think that makes sense. I think that Mexico has to confront these drug cartels. I think China is importing this poison to our country. And I think at the end of the day, Trump will prevail. I think that instead of paying these tariffs, I think China and Mexico will help keep these drugs out of our country. So he uses tariffs oftentimes as a strategic tool to advance America's interests.
Yeah, because we know this was the exchange, according to sources to Fox News, that Trudeau told Trump he cannot levy the tariff because it would kill the Canadian economy completely. Trump replied, asking, so your country can't survive unless it's ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion. Trump then suggested to Trudeau that Canada become the 51st state, which caused the Prime Minister and others to laugh nervously. Robert, your reaction?
So here's what I would say. You and I and Steve have been talking about, since the campaign, him calling himself tariff man. I'm supportive where Steve is. I supported President Trump's USMCA when they changed to NAFTA. So I think we should use the tariffs more prescriptively, not as such a broad and blunt tool. I think it's more to use like on steel or when President Obama used on tires. I think we should use it in a way that really makes a dent. When we use it in a broad approach like President-elect Trump used, for example, we're going to put tariffs on the BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, if they move away from the dollar. The truth is, that type of threat really doesn't mean that much because they're not moving away from the dollar. They have no interest in having the volatility of the Russian ruble or the capital controls of the China yuan. So I think we should make it more prescriptive so we're just not throwing it so broad-based. And today we saw, China retaliate by banning exports of minerals that we need for chips. So I do think that, there's going to be a lot of retaliation back and forth. But I think, to Steve's point, we have to make sure that the border is secure and that I would probably use enforcement as opposed to tariffs when it comes to the border and fentanyl.
Well, Steve, I'll have you respond to what seems to be continued criticism of the president-elect's plans. This is just a few Democrats in their own words. Listen.
Donald Trump engages in sort of thoughtless, insane tariff policy that ends up in prices going up, but jobs not being created in the United States. So you've got to use tariffs in the right way.
It's a terrible idea. It's been a terrible idea. We do not want a trade war with our closest trading partners.
We see an administration that seems more keen on tearing things down, not just in trade, but across the board, rather than building up and improving the lives of the American people.
Okay, so Steve, I want you to respond to that, but I also had a really interesting conversation with Mr. Wonderful yesterday. I mean, you both are wonderful, but he's Mr. Wonderful. Kevin O'Leary is suggesting that despite all this criticism and the pushback on Trudeau, maybe he's going to be dealing with completely new leaders come January. Listen.
At the end of the day, when you've got two partners with so much commerce, so much invested in economics with each other, they're going to work it out. They're going to figure it out. But it may be different players than what you saw over the weekend in Mar-a-Lago.
Leave us off on that note. Steve, know anything?
So a couple of reactions to what the Democrats were saying. I mean, it is true. Look, tariffs are a tax, and I don't like taxes, and Robert doesn't like taxes. None of us like taxes. So, but you do have to have taxes to fund your government. And one of the things that Trump is talking about, Sandra, is increasing the tax on, say, something that comes in that's made in China, but reducing some of the taxes on things that are made in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania. And you know, that makes some, there seems to be a rough justice in that because we prefer to benefit American workers rather than Chinese workers. But when you guys did that little analysis, one just quick thing, when you said, you know, that import tariff on Canada would cost Canada $100 billion. Well, actually, let's be honest about that. American consumers, Sandra, would pay for that because they're going to have to pay higher prices for these things. So it does impose a cost. But if Trump can do it right and strategically, and I've seen him do it well in his first term, where he got other countries to do things that are America's interest by threatening them with tariffs.
Okay. And we'll see what new leaders may emerge. Good to have you both. Robert, Steve, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Click.
Thank you for tuning in to the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy, Genesis. With that being said, what do you guys think about his tariffs? In my mind, I think if Trump plays his card well, the tariffs are going to work for him 1000%, because Mexico exports about 80% of their product to the United States. So they need the United States. Okay. Canada obviously needs the United States. That's why Purdue went to, Mar-a-Lago. He went to the Golden Gate, Mar-a-Lago. Mexico, no. China, on the other hand, they maybe they want to go back and forth with, you know, but everybody's gonna play ball at the end of the day. Everybody's gonna play ball at the end of the day, okay? Because the legend, the Don, the 45th, now the 47th is here, okay? Relax, guys. Chill and relax, okay? All your problem is about to get solved, all right? The economy is about to bounce back. The border is about to be secured again. And foreign policies, all this Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestinian people, Iran, it's about to be secured, guys. Don't even, don't worry about it. BBK, fake news. BBK, that's fake news, bro. But it's okay. This is what they always say about Trump. He's gonna do this. He's gonna end the democracy. He is that. He is this. He is that. Like, this same people were the same ones saying that there's no way Trump was gonna win the election. Now he's won the election. He's won the election now. They're saying another thing. Like, come on. From 2016 to 2020, you had a good economy. I don't like everything this guy does. Like, it's not my daddy, it's not my uncle, it's not my brother, but the economy was great. The economy was great, guys. The gas prices were low. Mortgage rates Mortgage rate was like 2.89%. Interest rate was low. Groceries was affordable. Water was great. There was no Ukraine, Russia. There was no Israel, Palestinian people, Iranian people. There was nothing like that. You know, Trump ain't like somebody said. Yeah, Trump ain't perfect. I don't support law enforcement, um, immunity. I don't support that. The things he does that, like it's like, what are you doing, bro? However, the economy was great, guys. It's not even a conversation. Everybody know the economy was great. Like it's not even like, you know, everybody knew that fact. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully he fixes this whole mess. Okay? Hopefully he does. Because that's what we want. That's what we want. People have been struggling, working 2, 3, 4 jobs to pay their bills. It's not easy out here for everybody. Okay, I know how hard it is. So just hope people get their breaks. And especially like the bills, electricity bills has gone up. I used to pay like $75. Now I pay like 200 and something dollars. Like it's like why? Why? And yet they say we're getting oil from the ground more than we were when Trump was president. So what does that mean? Yet we're paying more for energy. Like we're paying more for energy. So come on, man. Let's just wait for the OG. The OG, the Don, is gonna come here, fix this whole debacle, and everything's gonna work out. Vegas woman says God got a plan for Trump. Everything is good. Everything good gonna happen. Yes, this next 4 years, guys, stay motivated. Stay motivated. Stay blessed because God got something planned for you. Okay. This is your time. This day, this is your time, guys. All right, with that being said, somebody said Teflon Don. With that being said, instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself, never give up on your dreams, never give up on God. Believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, believe in God. Okay? Also, double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and then somebody says, like if Vegas says, we won't even feel the cost. Our pocket's gonna be fat. Yes, yes. Oh Lord, we definitely need that break. A lot of people need breaks. A lot of people need breaks. We need breaks, man. Trump is here to make the economy better, to make sure that people get breaks. A lot of people working hard just to live paycheck to paycheck. I know the paycheck to paycheck situation has been for a long time. However, now it's just worse. It's too worse because every price has gone up, but the income remains the same. You know, the income it still remains the same. So, man, I pray for everybody out there, man. If you're going through a hardship, pray that God is your strength. Pray that God stays with you. Pray that you believe in yourself. I pray that you keep going. Don't give up because sometimes it can be hard. I know you're tired. You know what I mean? Like working, working, working just to pay bills, 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 bills. It's like, can I catch a break? I get it. I get it, man. I get it, man. But don't give up, man. Do not give up on yourself, okay? Do not. Stay focused, guys. Stay focused. Stay focused. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I had a good time. I had a good time. I will be back here by probably by like 11, 12, 11 a.m. or 12 noon. But we'll be maybe in USA. Somebody says everything 6 a.m. and above will be made here in USA. What does that mean? We need to bring production back. Oh, yeah. Production is definitely going to come back to the United States. Production has to come back to the United States, and it will. It definitely will come back to the United States because he's. I don't. The tariff, I don't support the tariff as well, but the tariff are just ways to negotiate with these other countries. Okay. If he doesn't negotiate with these countries, how is he going to get the best deal? He has to get the best deals. Okay. This is what this man does, the art of the deal. So he has to make deals. Yeah. Those are just strategies, ways to make deals, to secure the border, to, make sure they deal with us in favorable terms. Oh, yeah. Malal Rocha says 600 microchips. Okay, yeah. You're right. You're right, bro. A sister. Hello, are you a sister or are you a brother? Let me go check before I make a mistake. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to make a mistake. Oh, that's a sister. Shout out to Malo. Yes, man. All right, Malo. Please subscribe to the channel. Double tap your screen. Subscribe to the channel because I think this is my first time seeing you, and I want you to come around every time because you seem knowledge. Oh, bro. Shout out to Malo, bro. Yeah, told you. You gotta be sure these days. You got to be sure these days. All right, man. And somebody says this is all a show. He never went after Hillary. So falling for he never went after Hillary, but they came after him. Yeah, Malo says I'm a guy. Shout out to you, bro. Also, you guys join the Discord. If you can, join the Discord. Join the Discord, guys. Join the Discord and sub up. Uh-huh. Let me see what else. Let me see if I could do one more video. But if I can't, we should just be ready to go. Yeah, man. And for Hunter Biden and his dad, look, the father should always pardon his son. I mean, there's no conversation about that. However, it's like, why did you have to lie about it? You shouldn't have lied about it. That's like, come on, relax. Don't be lying about stuff like that. Who lies about that? And for Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they are cutting out all the inefficiencies. And that's another win-win for the United States. That's a win-win for the United States right there. What else? You guys stay solid, man. Stay solid. Today's Wednesday. What do you plan on doing today? Some people are ready to go to work. Okay, Malo says subscribe. Shout out to you, Malo. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Thank you. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to you. All right, guys. Thank you to the veterans in the chat. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. You guys are the best. And like I said, stay focused. It is currently the 4th of December 2024. Can you even imagine? It is the 4th of December. Just 26 more days to go. 26 to 27 more days. Isn't that just wild to know that you only have, 26 more days to end the year? That's amazing, guys. It's amazing. So, learn from your mistakes all through this year. Look back, learn from your mistakes, and do better. 2025 is coming, okay? Let's do better. Let's do better. Let's do better. We can, we should, we must. And yeah, Sandra said USAF veteran. Thank you to all the veterans. God bless you, Sandra. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, we just got monetized, so super chat, super like, all that stuff is now welcomed. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. With that being said, I rest my case. Okay. I rest my case. God bless you.